Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all doing super well. I'm coming to you straight after Essendon's main training session this week on Friday, the 23rd of Jan. It was shaped to be predominantly a match sim session, but a lengthy, long one, and that it was. I left feeling really quite invigorated, actually, by the game style and the general embodiment of the group in the actual plan and the system. It was as close to real footy as we've seen so far, I will say. The session was bookended by drills and running, but the guts of it was a 40-minute match sim with umpires, and it revealed plenty. It really did. And it really did give me the clearest indication yet of how this group is looking to play this season. It was the most game-like session of the preseason that I've seen, and I've been to pretty much every Friday session since the start of or mid-November. And conditioning-wise, it was high volume. They did not stand still. It was consistent running, if not in match sim, consistent movement, consistent transition and recall running, and then running blocks around the oval in between drills. They were cooked by the end of it, and I was cooked watching them. Even the likes of Merritt, who's in his, I don't know how many preseasons has he done, but he looked exhausted as they did their last recall. So it was a big run in the legs. They would have hit 15K plus easily. I think what stood out almost immediately for me was the intent of the ball movement. There was a consistent willingness to move the ball long by foot to a contest. But the crucial part of it here is to do it quickly. The speed in their decision-making meant that their opposition, so obviously the red or the black, the numbers didn't have time to roll across and outnumber the contest. And so this all reinforced a clear focus on winning territory first rather than over-possessing the ball to then propel it forward, which I know is going to make a lot of fans happy. There was rarely a case today where I thought, one handball too many. We've got ourselves into trouble here, which makes me so happy because that is a huge bugbear of mine. I think we haven't yet grasped when one is just that too many times to move the ball on. We can get caught up in seeing a wave and think that the next player is going to have a better option or is presenting as a better option, and then that's just given extra time for the opponent to close space, and we end up in trouble. So there was very much none of that today. Well, when I say none of that, that's probably a stretch. Little of that today, which is amazing. And look, this approach, this let's say new approach, strongly aligns with what I've been seeing throughout the preseason and reporting for you, especially with what they've been prioritizing in the drills. You know, that huge emphasis I've been saying about ground ball contests and emphasizing winning that ground ball contest. So when we're kicking long quickly to a contest, if the player or players cannot mark it, it's coming to ground and the ability to win it once it gets to ground. Obviously that first possession and forward momentum, they've been working on that in drills, but it translated really well into match style conditions today, which was really pleasing. I thought around the ball, players really committed to getting numbers to the contest, and there was some really clean work from stoppage, particularly from Darcy Parish, who, wow, just had a day out. He showed signs of that elite contested ball winning and game sense. His ability to win the ball and spread or feed it out to a player was unbelievable. And what's actually quite pleasing, and some of you might disagree with this, but let me know in the comments, but Sardis was matched up on him at stoppage occasionally, but he too also had a really positive day with some of his contested ball winning and spread, and his kicking was terrific. So it was actually a great contest from both of them. They were kind of going head-to-head on that, and I thought they both came out looking really, really good. Sardis in particular had some other amazing moments around the ground as well, which I just think is another bit of growth for his, evolving as a player. And I certainly think he's starting to get the tempo of where he needs to be and where he needs to spread to, and the work rate involved in actually running in that, being a part of that wave to be on the end of a handball chain. So small sample size, and of course it is against Essendon, but good signs from my point of view. Interestingly, Kyle Langford was absent, perhaps in the classroom learning the rule changes. I don't know. I can't say I was overly pleased hearing that Kyle and the group haven't been studying the new rules fiercely. Not sure what that's about, but that certainly made me frown. But anyway, let's forget about that. So basically, because Langford was absent, Dursma was playing that high half forward role, and he did it really well. His one-on-one contested ability is quite underrated. I think he really held his own, and also had a few shots on goal as well. Little Huss was very good and deserves a shout out. His decision making is excellent for a young player. It is instinctive, and generally conversion is pretty good. He was chasing and tackling today like he was fighting for a spot in the team, like he is. And actually, so was Archie May. He had some great moments as well, but he's also chasing young, smaller players around the ground like he's a little guy. So that's obviously really pleasing. But with Huss, I'm convinced how quickly we see him play AFL football will be directly determined purely by his ability to run out a game and his conditioning at this stage anyway. The chemistry with Kako continues to bloom and is just so wholesome to watch them together. They know each other's moves before each other knows they're going to make them, which is really cute. Kako was again fierce today. I feel like I've got nothing left to say because he brings it every single week, no matter what the session is. He has a belief in himself now that's just elevated. He has a healthy, no ego whatsoever, but a healthy ego in terms of that sense of self and belief in his ability, which is going to translate on the field as well. One-on-one, a few players got beaten by their direct opponent today. So, for example, Nate Caddy, man, he had a day. But he had a day out on Mackay. But we know that that's not a natural matchup for Ben Mackay. And if he's getting a matchup like that in an AFL game, we're in big trouble. And you would hope that Brad Scott's shifting him off if there's an alternative off that opponent anyway. But Caddy was just way too agile, way too quick, and he was showing all the tricks. Big marking, reading the ball drop, beautiful. It's funny because in my notes, when I sit in the car afterwards and write some notes straight away down, in all the notes, tracking back to December, I've got, Caddy almost took a screamer. Caddy almost did this. He almost did that. He's had a bit of an almost preseason for me. Today, there was nothing almost about him. He was in a mood and everything was coming off for him. In the similar sense, Archie Wicks also had a day out on Max Kondajanis, but also Kondo was very good with his run and carry, but his one-on-one kind of contested work, obviously that's not where he shines, but Archie Wicks did some very special things. He missed a sitter, but he did make up for that in the contest after with a really amazing spoil. So few little matchups today that exposed their opponents. Archie Roberts had white line fever today. He gave Caddy front on push with fire. And I would suggest Caddy is probably talking some trash after one of his elite goals today. But Archie was in a mood. He also gave away a free and a 50 with some over exuberance and aggression. But it wasn't because he was having a bad day. He was actually showing some nice things. I truly just think he could sniff a whiff of AFL football in the air. The weather was sublime and he was just, I don't know, he was just feeling it. His energy was high, and we know he's an extreme competitor. I know some fans will say uncontrolled aggression lets a team down, and if you're giving away a 50 and a free, that's not good for the team. And sure, yes, I agree completely, but it was just nice. I don't know. Maybe I'm just missing AFL football, and it was nice to see a bit of push and shove. What else? Defensively overall, the response after turnovers was pretty encouraging. There was pretty immediate bounce back in intent with players, folding into shape and supporting each other by gut running in waves across all areas of the ground. There was a couple of just picture perfect moments where you could just see this wave of black or red. I can't quite remember until I go back and watch the footage, but you could actually see it happening in a game and it actually coming off. So that was really, really good. Look, overall, I think this session felt like a turning point in terms of the clarity of game style. The game plan looked cohesive and deliberate, more of a style built around winning territory, contesting, fiercely, supporting defensively in that wave, and then striking, but quickly when the opportunity is there. And for the first time this preseason, I saw, those principles come together in a way that felt game ready rather than purely for development or for each player individually evolving. So I think it was a definite great step in the right direction. It's hard to know. It's really hard to get a read on whether that's going to translate or hold up against other teams. They're also, keeping in mind that they're also getting better at all these things as well. But I think it will please fans to hear that the game style is moving less away from that chip sideways ball movement and, moving the ball up the ground via that method. And I say finally cottoned on that that's not going to hold. That's not a style that holds up because it's so easy to read. So I think credit where's due. The rehab guys all did a solid block before the main group came out. So all with the ball, all moving, lateral movement. And then they all participated in drills and then finished the day with running laps. Killian Burke also shuffled around the oval once or twice, emphasis on shuffle. So feels like that was a pretty bad hammy or significant hammy for him. Roby did hundreds at, medium pace, I would say, puffing out the chest as he was doing it, which we love to see. It's hard not to get excited about him just watching him, and he's itching to be out there in the thick of it. But a slow build is okay when it comes to him. So, all right, based on everything that I've just said, the other player who I will shout out is Lockie Blackiston. I've waxed lyrical about him multiple times throughout this preseason, but he deserves it. And it's not just because he's up against Vigo and inexperienced ruckman. It's his willingness to push forward, be a link in that chain. He's instinctively does that and ends up in puts himself in good positions to take a shot on goal or even to dish off to another running midfielder. He is doing some exceptional work, and I'm getting to the point where I'm quite bullish about him. Obviously, he's going to get monstered by your Kieran Briggses and your Max Gorns, but he is going to, mobility-wise, athletically, outrun them every day of the week. So I'm really excited by him. All right, so based off all of this, let's have a look at the Readiness for round one rating system. As you can see, some really high numbers there. Context is important. Again, it's Essendon v Essendon, so I'm judging it against the last Essendon against Essendon I saw. But I'd say this is definitely the most upbeat I felt this preseason to date. That's not to say that these numbers won't or can't drop next week. This is just where we sit today. As you can see, that general cohesion is still not quite at an elite level, but certainly the game plan there, it was crystal clear to see the bones of our game plan today, and that's what's important. And now it's about drilling that obsessively into the players and, getting them so familiar with it that they're doing it in their sleep. And that's what's going to take time. That's not going to translate straight away. So I think even though these numbers look good, context is important. All right, that'll do us for today. Members, you'll be getting an in-depth rundown on another 4 players' preseasons. This week, I'm going to cover Roberts, Parrish, Cox and Pryor, probably out tomorrow, maybe Sunday. As always, thank you to everyone for all the support. It's been amazing. And as always, I'm so very grateful. Please subscribe if you haven't. Hit the like. I need you to know that I cringe in my head every time I have to ask you to do that. I hate it. I'm so sorry. But please do that. It really does help. And I guess take care, and I'll see everyone very soon.